what it is and where to find it. To me, it seems like a very, very relevant thing to talk about. And I think one of the reasons I feel passionate about it was because when I first discovered who I was and how I came to the faith that I'm in now, was when I was on my own and I read a New Testament. No church involved, no, just a New Testament that I understood. And particularly the words of Jesus, and particularly Matthew 5, which was all about happy are the peacemakers, happy are the, there's a whole list of those, aren't there, if anybody knows that. He says, blessed are the, and happy are the is the translation. And the reason that I wanted to be happy is because as a teenager, like a lot of teenagers, I didn't know how to do life, and it gave me massive anxiety. I was fearful of every day waking up. I didn't know what was going to happen or whether I was going to be coping with it. And all my life, I noticed all my Bible verses are all about fear not. The ones that you sometimes used to colour in. Well, every time they're all about lack of fear. And lack of fear is peace, isn't it? So don't ask me why, I can't get that to go backwards, It doesn't appear when I do this bubble. It's supposed to be behind the words, so I'm sorry they're in front of the words. So it's a bit nuisance. Yeah. Yeah. So some of the slides will look familiar, right? Usually stress causes us lack of peace. Perceived threats, and this creates a change in our bodies and minds. They're not only perceived threats, they are sometimes real threats. And if you come from a place like Adam has over here, hope you don't mind me saying this, you know what a real threat feels like. Sometimes a real threat is in the home that you live, or in the country that you live, or sometimes the threat is just in your head, but it's just as real. Prolonged and severe stress can negatively impact health and well-being. And peace, that is freedom from anxiety and distress. That's where I was going when I said to myself in my bed at night, in the darkness, I want to know the God who really is, not the one anybody else talks about. I want to know. I want to know. And I didn't mean know, I meant know, really know. That meant a personal knowing. And everything I'm going to say today does depend on a personal knowing. It's not intellectual, it's not about, let's say, a list of rules. One of the first things I said when I, in the end, told people that I believed in Jesus was, I am not religious. That's one of the first things I said, which I meant was, I don't go with a set of rules that you have to live by. I do not go with that. And I was very keen that people should not believe that I'd become religious. So it was that revelation, that epiphany, if you like, that sudden knowing that had happened. Now, I meet other people that that's happened to. Some people, they got a knowing over time. And that's just as valid, particularly if they were brought up in perhaps a home where these things were talked about. But I know other people who had a sudden knowing like me, wow, I've just seen that, and now I know, and I can't unknow it. Who wants stress? Does anybody want it here? Why? Why would you want stress? What? I know that there are some people, and you might know them, that actually like a bit of drama. So they ramp it up, don't they? They do ramp it up, but really, do you really want this? Do you really? You know, right? Who wants peace? Most people, it's like in school, in assembly. Yes, I do, yes, please. Why? Because I don't want any anxiety. I don't want to be upset. I want to be chilled. I don't want all those things that bother me to bother me anymore. So, this is an important thing to remember about stress. And this is a really good guy called Eckhart Tolle, who wrote a very famous book in America, not so famous here, but I mean, he was on Oprah Winfrey and the lot. And he said, unease, anxiety, tension and stress, worry and all forms of fear are caused by too much future and not enough presence. It's what's coming up. And what Eckhart Tolle says is, live in the now, live in the present. And what he means by presence, he means the consciousness of the present, the appreciation of the present, and the sensing that there is another presence with you. He also says guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, sadness, bitterness, and all forms of non-forgiveness are caused by too much past and not enough presence. So those are the things that you worry about in the past. So your future steals your perceived future, what you think your future could be, might be, will steal your peace or your access to your peace. And your past, all the things that you remember that you go round and round the roundabout on, as we all know what that's like, will also steal your peace. So you have to be fairly determined to go no to the future fears and no to the past. You can't do anything about that, you can't do anything about that, but you can do something about the now. So, one thing that I did fairly early on was I was aware as a 16-year-old that we'd had quite a lot of stress in my house sometimes, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. My dad used to get quite wound up. And the first thing I do was say to myself, I am going to let that go. That is not going to affect my future. It is not. It is not. That's somebody who's 16 can do it. I said to her, nobody told me to do it. I just thought, I want peace more than I want that narrative. And my parents, if ever they did anything that I wasn't really happy about, I'm going to, let that go as well. I'm just going to go down the path of love. So I can look forward to the future, but I am in the now. Do you want to look for change? The only way you can create change is to want it. If you want that peace, sometimes it's going to be a bit hard work for you. It really is. Because your mind is in habits. Your mind has run riot and taken your life over. All your past, all your fears for the future, all the bad stuff that's happened in the very long time ago past and in the recent past. But if you want change, you can have change. But you have to go, I'm going to have change. Maybe it was easier for me as a 16-year-old because, of course, there was less to think about when I had less of a, but some people have an awful lot of past and an awful lot of hurts and upsetness that, can come back. So here are some pointers. Now, remember what I say, you can't follow rules to fix yourself. But here are some ideas that may be helpful. first be honest with yourself and be kind to yourself. You must be kind to yourself. Do not go into self-blame mode. No, you are not perfect. What a surprise. Fancy that. Neither were the other people that were involved with you. Fancy that. Some people have been not nice at all to you. And some things you wish you'd not said or done. And those regrets, that things that you did and things that they did and things that she said, he said, all that did, the mistakes that are, do not stress about them because they are over now. They are done. Don't let them spoil your present. Just have a look at yourself. How do you really respond to stress? It's in the present, be aware of what is happening in you. And if that's really what you want to happen, sometimes you can be in a situation and you don't know why it's winding you up. Sometimes it's something that's happened to you in the past. It's not necessarily the person or the situation. Sometimes it is, let's face it. But just be aware. And being aware, but slightly detached with your emotions, so that you can look and notice what you're doing. And, see, can you shift your mood? Can you understand yourself? To love yourself, as Jesus said, love others as yourself. To love yourself means to understand yourself, to be aware of yourself, and to be kind to yourself and say, yes, I am like that, but I can get over it in the end. Think about what gets you going. I used to think, if I ever thought of a certain person, it used to wind me up terribly. And I used to think, I'm so glad I don't see them again. I wish I never had any experience with them. But I thought, no, I'm aware that that is winding me up. So I thought, even though I am having those emotions, I said to myself, I feel like that, but I don't want to feel like that all the time, because this is taking away my peace. And I want to forgive that person, but I'm not getting those feelings now. You have to be honest with yourself. Think about how you're reacting and why you're reacting. Just be a bit detached. Observe what is happening in your head and think about how you would ideally like to react. So quite often I used to verbalize. I used to say to myself in my head, I'm feeling like this, and the feeling is quite powerful, but I would like to think differently. Number 2, always remember, and this is really, really important, you are not your emotions. You are not your experiences from the past. The essential you, that's not your past experiences. You are not your habits, good or bad. You are not even your thoughts, your ideas, or your beliefs. You run much deeper than that. You run much deeper than that. I remember last week, Julie was talking about meditation, and she was saying, on the surface, on the ocean, there can be a lot of waves, right? A lot of waves. But when you go deeper, it's calm. It's peaceful. In the ocean, you have to remember, and people think that they are their own emotions. No, your emotions are what's created by your thoughts. Your head is a tool, it is not you. That's number 3. Your mind is a tool for you to use. It's very useful. Chris Whittington calls it, it's a very long word, a discursive mind. The mind that does your shopping list, does your education for you, helps you to work things out rationally. It's very, very powerful. But you can't let it rule your spirit, your real self, which is much further down, by the way. Sometimes people's emotions get stuck somewhere, and it's usually here. Your mind's got worked up, your emotions are here, and out of your emotions, your voice comes with the negative things that you wish you never said and you can't take back. Or sometimes they come out with things that you're glad you did say. Because sometimes you have to be assertive and stick up for yourself. But if you don't feel in control of that process, that's what I'm saying. You need to be in control, don't you? If you don't feel in control, you sometimes regret. Your thoughts and ideas are made up from your past experiences and your personal choices, and possibly your ambitions. You are the spirit within you, created exactly like your Creator, empowered to be like your Creator. You'll be amazed how much power people have that they don't realize they do have. If you think about all the bad things that are going in the world, some people are actually using their power for the bad, aren't they? But they're using it. Empowered like your Creator, to be exactly like your Creator, loved and embraced by your Creator. Whatever you're like, whatever your children are like, you love them anyway. Whatever happens with your kids, it doesn't matter if they're just learning, they make mistakes, you love them anyway. You just love them anyway. That's real parenthood. Aww. When you accept this, it is the beginning of a calmer, happier life. That you are not your thoughts, that your mind is a tool, and you can change your mind. You can alter your perspective. You can look at what you're thinking and can say, I am thinking that, and it's giving me emotions, but I don't want to. I want to think differently. I want to have different emotions. So I would like to have a swap round, thank you very much, because this is making me ill. It's not doing me any good. When you accept that you have a spirit that is you, the real you, when you accept that that is the case, and it's not your emotions, when you accept this, you begin to realize who you really are. This is just a part of you. It's a bit like the projector screen, isn't it? And also you can change the slide, can't you? You can change the video. You can put a different video on. You are a chip off the old block. You were created to love, to care, to be selfless. Your spirit needs to rule your mind. So when I get ideas and thoughts in my mind, I immediately hold them at a distance slightly if they're controversial or negative. And I examine them. I think, what is happening in the old brain box? Then I check out, is this taking away my peace? Because if it is, I'm not going to be thinking it. I'm just going to let it go past, like the weather. Goodbye, goodbye. Yes, sometimes it's like really bad weather, like a storm in your head. Ooh, you really get it. You really get the hurricane in your head. But you look at the hurricane and you think, that is the hurricane, it's not really me, and the hurricane will pass. All seasons pass, all weather passes. Your spirit needs to rule over your mind, your pneuma, not your sarx. Remember, I talked about that. Sorry. Sorry, I can't hear. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to explain it in a minute, yeah, because you weren't here at that time. Yeah, your pneuma is just simply the ancient Greek word for spirit. And your sarx is an ancient Greek word for your flesh. And flesh is what's translated in the Bible as everything that you sense through your 5 senses. Smelling, hearing, seeing, everything that goes on in your mind and everything that goes on in your body. It's your 5 senses, anything that makes contact with this world that we live in. Because there are definitely 2 places. There's the physical world and there's the spiritual world. And you are just as much a spiritual person as you are a physical person. But quite often, if you go down that route, you feel a bit silly because you don't quite know how to cope with it, which was sometimes my problem, because I used to know things that nobody told me. I thought, well, what's that all about then? But now, I almost always make decisions and take my thoughts down to my spirit, my peaceful place. Do I stay peaceful with that? Or is it trying to disturb my peaceful place? You might have, if you read the Bible, you may have heard the phrase in Galatians 5:16, walk in the Spirit. That is simply what it means. It's don't do this, do that. Your heart will lead you the right way. Your spirit will lead you the right way. Live out of there, not out of here. Live out of who you really are. And it's discovering who you really are and affirming who you really are that is important. You need to do it yourself, and you need to be with people who help you do it. Number 5, expect to find a place of peace inside you, because there is one. Your mind might be drowning it out. The storm may be drowning it out. Expect to find a place of peace inside you that you only half realized was there. Expect to find your real self there. Expect to find comfort, acceptance, and companionship there. When you go to that place of peace, when you go to your spirit, when you ignore and let everything in your mind go past and stay in the now, as I say, just stay in the now and relax, there is no condemnation. There is no blame there. There is no unhappiness there. And no one is pointing the finger at you or anybody else. There is companionship. You will find there is somebody else there. You're there, but you're in a situation that is plural there. And you can hear and see in the spiritual. I used to say to my classes in assembly, you have 5 senses, but you also have 5 senses in your spirit. You can see in your spirit. You can hear in your spirit. You can even smell and feel and touch and sense. People don't realize that, but everything that is in the visible is in the invisible too. And Jesus came to show us what we were designed to be. He is an example of us, not an example for us. He called himself the Son of Man far more than he called himself the Son of God. Much, much more. Much, much more. He called himself the Son of Man. Now, I think there are other leaders in religions that have exemplified this seeking after the spiritual. They have looked. Now, they may have also found, but they didn't know what they had found. My nephew is a Buddhist teacher, for instance. And he definitely believes in looking for peace inside, and he definitely believes in ignoring and moving away from anything that impacts you negatively. Now, he is very interested. He goes into churches and, he's not away from wanting to think about what other beliefs are. But you will often meet someone who perhaps comes from another faith, but they have got a selflessness and a kindness, which to me indicates that they went there and they found that selflessness and that they found that kindness and they found their spirit. They may not know who's there with them, but this is how they want to live. What did Jesus say? Well, one of the things he said is, blessed are the peacemakers. Peacemakers make sure that other people reconcile together. And you are reconciled with yourself. You make peace inside yourself by not fearing about the future, not worrying about the past. As much as those voices are very loud, happy, blessed, that's what it means. Happy are the peacemakers, because they will be called the children of God. This is God activity. It's what the image of God does in you is create peace. I think a great prayer today would be that peacemakers would invade the Middle East and Israel. Peacemakers would invade these places that are having stress. Peacemakers came to Northern Ireland. People think, how did they make peace in Northern Ireland? Because there were enough peacemakers to make peace. They got fed up of fighting and war. Peacemakers who were Catholic, peacemakers who were Protestant, peacemakers who were atheists. Peacemakers made peace. Because inside each one of those people was the image of God desiring peace and not wanting to have revenge anymore. Because revenge and peace are not good bedfellows. And they realized it will go on and on and on, and the more you feel resentment and upsetness at what people have done to you, the desire to get your own back, the dirt will go on and on and on. Eckhart Tolle says, if you want peace enough, you'll get it. He does a really good quote about that. Peacemakers made it happen. There is a sort of idea in Christianity, which people who know me will know that I don't like, that sort of God does things sort of by magic. He doesn't do it just because he's out there and he decides he's going to bless somebody and he decides he's not going to bless somebody. Well, they were my favourite today. That, have a blessing. They were not my favourite. Let me kill you by some sort of terrible flood. That isn't true. Men and women rule the earth. We know that through Genesis. The earth was passed to human beings, and it's up to us to create the peace. We didn't make a right good start, and sometimes we don't do a right good job. There's a great deal of I'm right and you're wrong, and right and wrong and right and wrong, instead of love and selflessness. But when there's love and the selflessness emerges, and the feelings and thoughts of revenge and anger move away, that's so powerful. And in Ireland, they still have their blips, but there were so many people that wanted peace. And when it comes down to individuals, he said to his disciples, peace I leave with you. Because they went, what do you mean you're going away? We want you here all the time, thank you, because you're the one who tells us stuff. Not as the world gives, that is everywhere around you. As the world gives, it's like this. I feel peace because I'm happy and rich, and everybody loves me, and I've got a good education. To a degree, that does bring a certain amount of happiness. But he's saying, I can give you a peace that despite what happens, and we know that the disciples got pretty much persecuted and beaten up and generally not treated well, but they still stayed with the idea that Jesus was bringing peace to them. Don't let your heart be troubled. Don't let it be afraid. And then I've put in brackets, because this is from the Amplified Bible. Let my perfect peace calm you in every circumstance. Remember, everything's going on ahead. Ah! So you go, I'm going to ignore the shouting, and I'm going to go down there. Take a deep breath and focus somewhere else than in my head. I'm going to focus on my spirit. Let my perfect peace calm you. Peace has calming properties in every circumstance and give you courage and strength for every challenge. That's why it's important to have peace, because for every challenge in life, and boy do we know there are lots of challenges in life, do we not? We do need that courage and that strength. And I certainly, when I was a 16-year-old, needed courage because I had not got any courage. I didn't have any strength. I was like, I don't know, something that was insubstantial, something that didn't have any foundation. I was afraid of my own shadow, as they say. This is quite important. Now, only if you know do you know this. Only if you've been to that place will you know this is true. I have met a number of people who've gone, suddenly I knew that where I went, that was where he was. This is where I was face to face with who I am and who they are. We will come and make a home with you face to face. The Holy Spirit is about to become your close companion. You have a companion in there. You have another set of people, if you like, spiritual company. You are never alone. I used to be in the school alone, on my own, at 6 and 7 o'clock at night, and I've never felt alone. I thought, well, actually, I'm not alone. There's quite a few people here with me. I am not on my own, because in my peaceful place, that's where I am, and that's where they are. Sometimes people give them names like the Holy Spirit, the Father, the Son. The Holy Spirit is about to become your close companion. I think they'd experienced that Spirit, but now he was saying to his disciples, close companion in your inner self. And those people who embrace love and selflessness and peacemaking go to their peaceful place and they find him there as the companionship. And it's hard to see him if you are full of anger and revenge. You don't want to go there. You can't go there. When you get to that peaceful place, that's where you find him, and that's where you find who you really are. Peace is a gift. You cannot do it yourself. You need to go right to the right place to find it, your inner self, your spirit. Paul, the Apostle Paul, who wrote all those letters to the churches, I'm so glad, terrible to say, I'm so glad he got put in prison. That's terrible, isn't it? But he wouldn't have written all those letters if he hadn't been put in prison. So, every cloud. He says that peace is a gift and not something we can achieve on our own. And that is the difference between finding out who you are and religion. Religion gives you a list of things, and God will be happy. For following your spirit, for following Jesus, there is no list. There is no list. There is no list.
Is there a list?
No. Now you mention it, there is no list. The peace of Christ that passes all understanding guards your hearts and your minds. Guards them. Everything's going on in here. Your spirit goes, shut that lot up. Come down here and don't listen. Let that go. You'll still hear it. Yes, it'll be in the distance. But let's go to the place of peace. Let the peace of Christ, the inner calm of one who walks with him daily, be the controlling factor of your hearts, deciding and settling questions that arise. I want to kill them. They've done me a bad favor. They have hurt me badly. And you say to yourself, blessed is the peacemakers. That's not who I am. That's not who I am. I am not going to go there. I am not going into self-destruction mode. Why would I go there? They make me so angry. That makes me so angry. I don't like that. It's encroaching on me. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after the way that God does things. That's what the word righteousness. It's nothing to do with good and bad. It's doing it the way that he does it. And the way that he does things is through kindness and love and patience and forgiveness. There is no fear. There is no fury. There is only a passion to love that person. You won't find it up here, I'm telling you now. But you will find it down here. And nurturing your spirit, nurturing that part. To this peace you have been called as members of one body. When we're all together, let's go there. Let's be there. And if people actually, make a mistake and they lose it a little bit, let's be patient. Stop struggling. Don't try and do it yourself. You can't fix yourself. You have to enter into that rest. Whoever has entered God's rest has rested from his own works. That's what it says in Hebrews. He's reminding the Jewish Christians that God rested on the sixth day in their story in creation. That means ceasing from our own efforts to be good and being empowered from within, from the image that we are, mirroring God's rest after creation. Now, this is really important. Be like a child, living in the now. Children are just amazing. If something bad happens and then something good happens, they can't remember what it was. I get in the car and I say to Caleb, I said to him, he's 6, what did you do today when you were at Beavers? And he said, and then he tells me about everything he's going to do next week, because that's the past. I'm sorry, I experienced it. I mean, one day he did actually say and cry when he got home, saying, I want to go back to Beavers, because he loved it so much. And you know what they were doing? They were looking at baby lambs and sheep. So that stuck in his mind, didn't it? But most of the time, he's on to the next thing. They're on to the next thing. They're not bothered about what's just happened. Think, oh dear, I was a bit disappointed. We move on, we move on, we move on. I remember as a child, I was once, this is an awful thing to share, I know this. I was once attacked by a teacher in a classroom. She really hit me. And it came out of the blue. I'm not worried about it now, so don't worry about it now. It was a terrible thing. I never even remember. I don't remember it now. I'm just doing it as an example, so don't get upset, will you? No cane was involved. No cane was involved. So don't worry about it. I know things like that really upset you, especially with children. I know. So when I got home, I didn't even remember it had happened. And my mum said, what's all those bruises on your legs? And I went, oh yeah. children have an amazing ability to move on. Though I do know that some things that have happened in children's lives have traumatized them and do stay with them. Quite often, things on a day-to-day basis. Being like a child. In fact, Jesus, one day, he got a child and stuck the child in front of everybody and said, be like the child. Be like the child. Be vulnerable. Be innocent. Find reasons for happiness. They're always looking for happiness. Young children are always looking for joy. When they become teenagers, they're less so. But when they're young children, they're always going, oh, look, flowers. Oh, look, a clown. Oh, look, good things. That's what you are designed to be, a child. Matthew 18, verse 2 and 3, that's when he put the child, he said, be like this child. Don't be mistaken, that child is you. This child that I just show you with the paint all over the face, you know, they don't make a perfect job of things, do they, children? You know, there's paint everywhere sometimes. There certainly is with me anyway. But don't mistaken, that child is you. This is not you. That's just in your head some of the time. But you don't have to live there. You have to watch it go by. It's not nice. Study to keep your thoughts in the present. Live in the now. Let negative feelings and thoughts go. Focus on your inner self, your spirit. Can you point to it now? It's here. Now, to do this, sometimes you need help. And I would say that if you think, I really struggle with this, counselling is always a good idea. Going to talk to your best friend is always a good idea. Going to ask for prayer is a good idea. You can't always do this all yourself. We're meant to be interdependent. Because who else you find in there is also your brothers and sisters. The whole of humanity is in you, and you are in them. This is where your peaceful place is. You're like a TARDIS. I often say this. Inside of you is enormous. Your body is finite. It is small. It's not so big. Well, some of us are bigger than others. It's not so, but inside you, huge. You can have a walk round. That is where your companion is waiting for you. That is where your compassion lives. That is where your peace is to be found. Let the negative feelings, make sure they don't rule you. Believe in you like God believes in you. He believes in you. He's not the person who's externally somewhere up a mountain going, well, that wasn't right, was it? What you did there? Stop that. You just got lost. Sometimes we just get lost. And it's, you know, if you lose a coin, if you lose your money, if you lose your keys, they're still your keys. It's still a coin. It's still worth exactly what it was when it was lost. You are not your emotions. You are not your reactions. Are not your habits good. You are not your thoughts. You are not your culture, and you are not your upbringing. I have a friend of mine who, a few months ago, cleaned out some showers in the place where he was working. He cleaned them out. And somebody maliciously went in on purpose and mucked those showers. He was absolutely furious. I said, well, didn't that person have to go and clean the shower? He said, no, because other people needed to go in. I needed to clean them again. They did it to wind him up. No doubt. And I said to him, you are not your showers. He said, yeah, I'm not a shower. That's true. And this person went, trying to wind up, they went and took his favourite mug and put it somewhere. And he couldn't find it. Winding him up. He was furious because he loved that. He loved that mug. And it reminded him of happy times. And he never got it back. And it took him a little while to get over that. And I said, well, you are not your mug either. You are not your dirty showers, and you're not my... So one day, once he got over the slight storm, this person came by, and somebody moved his tray that he was taking to get food. And he went to the person and said, "You've taken my tray, haven't you?" Turned out it was somebody else, it wasn't that person. And then he had to laugh because he realised he was becoming too obsessed. So later on, he went to that person and said, "Let's give up this thing between you and me. Let's just let it go. Don't know what started it or why you're doing it, but let's not do it." Because what he did is he didn't want to be out of peace anymore. And he knew that his identity does not rely on a mug or the showers or even his tray. He just felt so disrespected, and it's quite understandable. He just said, let's just give up this. Is that okay? Let's not be enemies. Let's be friends. And they were. Do you remember I said that in the country of Finland there's a special word for companionship? I'm not putting it up here because I might have to pronounce it, which I don't want to have to do. But it means a quiet kind of bonding where you don't have to please or entertain or discuss or even speak. It's a deep connection that doesn't need conversation, no pressure. The friends that can sit in quiet with one another are the real ones. When you go to your place of peace, you have that companionship. You are never alone. And you can get strength and courage from somebody in the spirit that embraces you and does not have any expectations of you. Now, the reason why I put the dog inside the blanket picture is not that I think you are all dogs wrapped in a blanket, no. I just thought, well, think how that dog feels. That dog feels so cozy. In your quiet place inside you, there is such a friend waiting for you. No criticism or stress, only kindness and acceptance. Find yourself there and live from there. That's your aim. Not living from the troubles you have on the outside, not living from the troubles you have in your brain. And let's face it, there are loads of those. But there is a place. It says, seek peace and pursue it. Sometimes you have to go with effort here. He says, I leave behind peace. I give you my own peace. And it's nothing like the world around you. Don't be distressed or daunted. Thank you for listening.